Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and on today's episode, I'm talking to new guest Damien Casey about Lisa Frankenstein. Damien is an artist and writer of weird books. Welcome to the show, Damien.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm great. How are you?
That's
Thanks. First of all, thanks for having me. I should say that. Man, my ADHD runs wild on these on conversations.
Oh no, I totally understand. I've got my own bout of undiagnosed ADHD, so which anybody who's listened to my show probably could have figured out by now.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so easy to like identify if you know what you're looking for. Like
yeah.
now that I got diagnosed, and it was I don't remember what the test is called, but it's like a scale of 10 and -10, and you're supposed to fall at like think it was like -2 was like a normal person, and I felt like
Okay.
-13. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, I think I'd like to say I'm probably a little bit closer because like there's certain things that I'm ADHD about, like definitely 100%. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I've got that like those things. And then there's other things where I'm not like that at all. But like, but so I don't know. I might not be as extreme, but yeah, I do want to get tested. Um,
it's it's really like kind of eye-opening when you get tested because you're
yeah.
like, oh wow, and then you kind of look at all the memes and you're like, yep, all right, cool. Like my biggest eye-opener was injustice sensitivity. Like I have it so bad, and I look up
Mm.
stuff about it all the time, and I'm like, yep, that's me. That is me.
Yeah. Yeah. I always just thought you had to be kind of like mostly hyper and stuff like that. I was like, oh no, that's a form of it, but that's like not necessarily the part of it. And it wasn't until like this comic book artist that I follow was posting things about ADHD, and I was like, wait, that's an ADHD thing. I can't even remember what it was now. But I was just like, oh my God, I totally have that.
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, I need to look into this a little bit more. And the more I looked into it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I do have a lot of this stuff. So eventually, I'll get tested and figure it out for get that official diagnosis. But like one of the things was like bad grades in school because you talk too much and everything. I was like, "Ugh, that was me.
Yeah.
Like didn't do my work, talk too much. But I'm smart, or at least, they said I was smart. I don't
I
know
think
how smart I am these days, but
I
I'm
think a lot
in.
of that I think a lot of that is like I'm also a teacher, so like a lot of that I
Yes,
see in students that I have that have ADHD, like is the work what isn't because I know I struggled with this too. The work just wasn't engaging because I know
yes,
my hyperfixation is like crazy, and just because of your podcast, I can tell you have some hyperfixation going
oh,
on. So
absolutely.
that's definitely one of your traits, but mine is like insane. So I would see that in some of my students, like they'd be working on something they're just bored on, and I just feel like you're done, aren't you? Like you just can't take it. It's like torture, isn't it?
Yeah,
I always call it ADHD hell. Like you're just
yeah.
there, like, oh, I don't like doing this, and I've been doing it for 30 seconds, and I want to be done now.
Yeah, that's like with me, like with the hype, with speaking kind of hyperfixation is like I love learning, but I like to learn what I want to learn and when I want to learn it. And
Yep.
so school has always been a struggle for me. It's the reason why I still have not gotten a college degree, even though I've gone to college enough that I should at least have some kind of a degree. But
Yep.
I kind of bounced around and didn't never got the degree for it. And
Yeah.
it's just like I constantly am like reading. Like that's my major thing is like reading articles, reading Wikipedia, like always looking up stuff and just constantly doing that. So
Yeah,
that's
I
one of my big
totally get
things.
that. When I went back to school for teaching, I was like, I don't know if I can do this because all the other subjects, other than English and the teaching classes, I was just like, I don't want to be in that class. This professor, she is talking about science things for for like
Yeah.
45 minutes to an hour, and I'm just miserable. Like, I don't want to hear about this. And then it's like the math teacher, he's making me get on this computer and do math problems for an hour. I can't do it. I
Yep.
cannot do it.
Yeah, I'm not a science and math person. I'm right with you there. I hated those classes and I was just like, oh my God, can this freaking end, man? Because I started out as a film student too. And so I was doing okay in my film class. Not great, but I also had extenuating circumstances because I was a new dad and had just gotten married. And
Oh yeah.
I wasn't sleeping a lot. So, um, but there was, but when it was the film classes, I was more engaged, and then it was like uh all the other classes, I was like, I don't even want to be here. So, yeah, so I feel that completely.
Yeah, I'm so bad about stuff. I have, what am I looking to say here? Um, I have high blood pressure and diabetes, which probably play into each other. But that combination was making my anxiety go through the roof for so
Mm.
many years. So a lot of symptoms that I have from ADHD were being covered by my anxiety. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
when I got finally medicated for anxiety, and my anxiety started dropping, my ADHD symptoms just like they've in the past 2 or 3 years have just blown up. Like it used to be nothing for me to multitask a couple things because my
Mm.
anxiety would force me to, like, oh, I have to get this done and do this at the same time. Now I like I can't do anything for more than 10 minutes. I feel like it's very strange.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I don't have the anxiety. I do have the high blood pressure, and I've had that since I was in my 20s, even when I was skinny. So I just have a high blood pressure issue, I guess.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
same.
interesting.
When I was 150 pounds lighter, I still had that. It was
Yeah, yeah.
thanks, mom and dad, I guess, right? Many of the other things.
Right. Right. Yeah. Thanks to my mom for not having my ADHD diagnosed, but thankfully not, because it was the 80s and they had the really like strong, like super dope medicines then, and I would have just been a zombie.
Oh
So
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
kind of glad I didn't do it then. So
You would have really locked in and got all your schoolwork done and like become a banker. But now you would have like
right.
you would have slowly weaned off your medicine, and now you'd be sitting there counting numbers like, I hate my life. I
Yeah.
completely hate my life.
No, I mean, this is the thing. We've already derailed this conversation, which is hilarious.
Yep.
Um, and I warned you at the beginning that that's what's going to happen. But but no, that's the thing. I cannot hold down a job to save my life. The most I usually will uh be in a job is like 2 years. I was in one job for like 6 years, but that's because it was kind of chaotic, like on a daily basis, and that kind of fed into that. So there was like, but I will say the last 2 years kind of sucked. So I was just like, all
Yeah.
right, but yeah. So normally I can't stay in jobs too long unless they are somewhat chaotic.
Like
And I find that delivery jobs are kind of my niche.
oh,
Um,
holy shit.
so
The like the way I related to that because legitimately the job I have had the longest of my life was 6 years, and it was like I was working in a kitchen at a bar and grill for 6 years, and it was the most chaotic, insane environment with like the highest turnover rate. So a lot of times the work environment felt different because people would come and go so often.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, totally 2 years. Then my next job was another kitchen job, and it was 2 years. Then I went to
Yep.
cook pizzas for a year or so, and here I am doing delivery, just like you. Like we're
Yeah, because we get bored. Like you get bored and you have to move on to the next thing. And I think delivery works for me in a lot of ways because there's daily it's something different. It's very much the same. You're going to the same places, you're doing the same things and everything like that, but it's still you're going to different houses and stuff like that, different delivery locations and stuff. And and I like to drive, and I like to just be I like to be fairly autonomous when I work. I don't like a lot of um oversight. So like I don't need people breathing down my neck saying, "Oh, you're doing this job wrong," or do this, do that, do this other
yep.
thing. And I'm like, okay, if I got to do all this, I'm not going to be here. So
Yeah,
um
that was my biggest problem with teaching was, well, first of all, like my we talked about my injustice sensitivity. Like
yeah.
I would see something happen to a student that I knew was wrong, and I would not just be like, okay, we're going to count this as a loss and do the best we can to make their life not miserable, but we're gonna try. I would nope, nope. I would see a fellow teacher do something sideways to a student, and I would be in the office telling the vice principal, telling the principal, just raising all nine
Yeah.
levels of hell about it because my injustice sensitivity, and it would just be like then you'd have your peers, like you said, breathing down your neck. Like you just
Hmm.
gotta let people do things their way. Well, their way's wrong and idiotic. I can't. Their way is kind of bullyish. Like I can't let them
Oh,
bully a 15-year-old kid. Like
oh,
sorry.
I,
And
I feel that one so hard because I've definitely gone up to managers and employers and stuff like that and told them they were doing things wrong and stupid and everything like that. So, like, not necessarily injusticey, but just like that's a dumb thing and you're stupid. And
they
then
don't love it. They don't
they
love
don't
it.
love it. They don't love it. And I will say this: I've never gotten fired on the spot for stuff like that. I will say either they make the job 10 times harder that makes me want to quit, or I just end up quitting not too long after that anyway, just because I find them to be so dumb that I just can't keep working there. So
Yep, that's
another reason why I like delivery jobs because then I don't have to deal with a lot of that stuff.
yeah. I
So,
I worked I worked at Walmart for about
oh,
3 or
I didn't even make it a year at Walmart.
I cannot. I was a year in one department, a year in another department, and then like a year and a half in another department. So I kept like going around from manager to manager because one manager would do something and I'd go, "That is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard anybody do."
Walmart is one of the places I did that too. I'll have to tell you my story after you finish yours.
I I did it. I did it so many times at Walmart too. Like I would have managers, like the store manager would always be so mad at me. Like we'd have those meetings and they'd say things like, "What do you guys think needs to change?" And I'd just get on these big rants because I'd have notes, mental notes in my brain, and then you know how it is. You end and you forget one, and you go, "Oh, and another thing. There's this, this, and this happening." I'd get called into the office, and he'd be like, "Damien, we just gotta. Some things are not. We can't do anything about at a store level. You just got to kind of roll with the punches on those." And I'm like, "No, I
Yeah, true.
don't. I don't have to
Yeah.
roll with it."
Well, I had it. I started at the Walmart, a brand new Walmart. It had just been built. The store itself had just been built. And so I ended up coming in as part of the early crew to actually build all the back shelves. So we did all that. And then we were all transferred out into the main store area to put up all the in-store shelves. But then I got pulled aside and asked to help the guy who was installing the alarm systems. They asked me to help him, which I had no clue what I was doing at first. The guy had to teach me everything on the job, which thankfully I'm a fast learner. And so I ended up helping him get all that done. And he ended up having to go away for like 3 days. He had to go to a different Walmart, someplace else for 3 days. And so I just continued doing the job, like wiring all these alarm systems, like all along the store and everything like that while he was gone. So I'd learned enough by that point to be able to do it all. So, um, so this is part of it because I'm like, okay, so if I hadn't been good enough to be able to do that and get all that done, they would not have opened on time. They would have had to open 3 days late because that guy had to go someplace else. So they're lucky I was there and was able to do stuff. Number one, which I did not get any kind of praise for, which I was like, okay, that kind of sucks, but whatever.
It's
Um,
Walmart. Yep.
it's Walmart, yeah, which always killed me because Walmart at that time, I don't know if it's still the same. This is 20 years ago. So Walmart at the time was all like they would get into all these groups and they would like have these little meetings, like these little like quick meetings with each other, and like thing like trying to like instill all this like family work ethic type things, and we're all a family, blah blah blah, and woo woo, and everything. I was just like, this is so stupid. Let me just do my job and go away.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Like I don't want to be a part of this weird awkward family where like you just fire people. You make me feel like they're like you make me get super attached to this person and then they're gone next week because they
well,
got sick.
yeah. And then so after it opened, I started working the electronics department because I like movies and the electronics and stuff like that. So I was just like, this would be my perfect area. And so originally worked in the during like the daytime and stuff like that. And then I ended up having to transfer to overnights, and I was still working the electronics department. And oh, wait, hold on. back on days. This is the funny thing with back on days. So back on days, I was it was around the time the Xbox 360 had come out. So, and if anybody remembers, these they were selling out so fast that we were only getting like two or three at a time in the store. We'd get a shipment in and then they'd sell out immediately. We'd get a shipment in, they'd sell out immediately. So then somebody comes in one day and wants to buy one. I know we have like two or three in the back. But and so I go up to my manager, I'm like, hey, can I grab one of these out and sell it to the person? They're like, no. In the flyer for the weekend, it says we'll have some on Saturday. I'm like, okay. So if I can sell one now, we would
Yeah.
get money now. But there's no guarantee that anybody's going to show up on Saturday for
Yeah.
these.
Yeah.
Just because you say there is, just because you say there's some doesn't mean there is some. Plus, if people come in on Saturday, because we only have two now anyway, when two people buy those, the rest of the people who are going to come in on Saturday are just going to get told that we don't have any more of them. So if we sell one now and we sell out before Saturday, we'll still be telling the same people the same thing. So it doesn't really matter. So they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And I literally I said this in front of the store manager. I was like, that was stupid. This is stupid. And you guys are dumb for even doing this. And I walked away. Did not get fired. Which is crazy.
To my surprise.
Yeah, very much to my surprise. But then I transferred to nights and was working the electronics there, which I liked a lot better because there was like nobody there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so I was just stocking and cleaning up everything. And then so they had us all like so grocery goes on their break at like let's say midnight, and then um the other the general merchandise sides go at like 1 o'clock. Um, or no, went at like 12:30. So for a half hour from 12:30 to 1 o'clock, because it was an hour break from everything, from 12:30 to 1 o'clock, there's nobody on the floors except for the managers. What few managers there are at night, because there's a lot less managers at night. So I was concerned about theft because I worked in electronics, the highest theft area of the whole
Yeah.
store. So I told them I was like, hey, can I go on my break at like 1 o'clock once everybody else comes back from grocery, and then that way there's somebody here at least for that half hour. And at first they were like, yeah, that's actually a good idea. But then eventually, I guess it, I guess somebody questioned it in the crew or something like that. Like, why is he out longer than the rest of us? Blah blah blah. And instead of explaining it in the correct way, they were like, okay, well, we're just gonna make him go back and do that. And I was just like, okay, again, this is stupid. Like, and I literally walked out in the middle of my shift because I disagreed with I don't even know if that was the time it was or whatever. It was something I disagreed with so vehemently I ended up just walking out in the middle of my shift because I was just like, this is ridiculous. I can't deal with this anymore. I'm out.
Oh my
So
God. I have done that to many a job too. Like you're just like, well, okay, I'll see you later. You just
yeah.
never go back and you just vanish and you're like, they don't know where I went. The last job I did that at, and maybe I shouldn't tell this story, I'm gonna tell it. The last job I did that at was Bob Evans. I don't know if you have a Bob Evans where you are.
I don't think so.
It's like a how do I explain it? It's like an Applebee's type chain, but it's all like down home breakfast cooking, like
Okay,
bars.
I've seen those.
So
Yeah.
so I was working. Oh man, this was after I left Walmart. So I left Walmart because I had a situation like that with a manager, and I left their department, and then they became my manager in electronics. Funnily enough, and like and our store manager, I had told our store manager, yeah, I think this manager is going to try to retaliate against me now that they're in charge of me again because of this little
hmm
this dispute we had. And I was assured, no, that won't happen. That won't happen. That won't happen. I'll talk to them and make sure that they know not to bring that up. Blah blah blah. Well, then that store manager left. Like that very week, that store manager left, and then 2 days later, I get pulled into the office and told the only way that I'm going to get any more hours is if I switched to overnights, which I was going to college from 8 to 5 in the morning at that point, and
Mm,
I was like, that's just not possible. Like you have to like you have to keep my availability or whatever that you all signed off on. And they were like, yeah, well, we're gonna keep your availability. You'll just have to leave. You'll just have to come in and work from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then go from 8 to 5. And I was like, that's just not even possible.
yeah.
So I quit that and I went to Bob Evans that day. Got a job because they just hired me because of how much kitchen experience I have. Well, anyway, they have a kitchen that should be ran by like 4 or 5 people because you're serving like at the slowest point in the day at least 20 guests.
Yeah.
So they have this kitchen that you should have more than one cook in, and I was the only cook a lot of the time, so it was just overwhelming. It was hot. They expect too much of you. And one day I went in and I was checking everything, and the manager said, "Yeah, we restocked everything for you. You don't have to check anything." And I was like, "Oh, I'm just doing it anyway because I want to make sure for my own like whatever. You don't believe we have everything restocked for you? Why would I lie to you?" And I was like, "Okay, cool." So he pulled me off to do something else, and I just went and did it. And then we got this order. I'll never forget. It was turkey and stuffing, like this meal that was like a sandwich type thing. And I had all this food going, and I reached for turkey, and there was no turkey. There was not a slice of turkey. And I was like, "Hey, where's the turkey?" "Oh, we didn't do the turkey." And I was like, "Oh," and they went and got this frozen turkey. And I took I like, just, I didn't even hesitate. I walked out the back door, taking off my apron and just like, I, I didn't even untie it. I took my hat off and dropped it in the parking lot, took the neck part of my apron off and just like stepped out of it in the parking lot and drove home.
This is a reason why I don't like working food service. Food service is some of the worst places I've ever worked at. It's ridiculous.
Oh, and they treat you so badly.
Oh
Like,
man. Well, I will say Walmart was one of the places I got treated the worst because this is the interesting thing. Again, this was 20 years ago. Hopefully it's changed. It probably hasn't.
it's probably changed for
But
the worse.
yeah, but it used to be like because they would only promote from within. They never promoted, like they never hired somebody to be a manager. The managers who were there at the time, were people who have been working there a while. Like even the store manager started as a cart collector. Like
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
like literally his job originally when he first started was as a cart collector, and he moved his way up. It's great. It's fine. I think that's pretty good. It is a pretty good concept. The problem is because when you're there and your manager treats you like crap, then you become a manager. You think that's the way you need to treat everybody.
Yep.
And so that's what ended up happening is everybody who's management had been treated like crap. So that's how they treated everybody else. And so I just was like, this is not a good place to keep working at. So
It's so
anyway,
it's so toxic. Just
oh, very much. So anyway, we should get off this very ADHD distraction and get to the actual meat of the episode.
this rant.
Yes.
You have to time mark it and then notes. Like there's a podcast I used to listen to where they would say it would pause and you'd hear one of the host's voice come in and she would say, "If you don't want to hear about our life, skip forward to
Yes. Oh, well,
3409."
that was my favorite murder. That I think that was maybe not the one you listened to, but my favorite murder would do that. They would talk
That's
about
not
like for a half hour, they would talk to each other about their lives, and then they would go, okay, well, if you in the beginning they're like, okay, if you don't want to listen to all this, just skip ahead 20-30 minutes, and then we get
I
to the
love
meat of
that
the thing.
I love that that's multiple podcasts. This one was called
Yeah.
Let's Get Haunted and it was about like cryptids and stuff.
So funny. Oh man. Anyway, so yes, let's if you guys all sat through this, hopefully you enjoyed that conversation as much as we did talking about it.
There's
But
a Walmart manager listening to this like those oh, so angry.
any Walmart manager listening to this, I might need a job there at some point. So please just understand what I said was 20 years ago. So things have changed, I'm hoping. And if I need a job and I need to get one, please don't take this under consideration.
Well, I can't even say that because I quit over to loudspeaker, so I'm never allowed to work there again.
That's so funny.
Uh,
All right. So, yes, let's get to talking about Lisa Frankenstein. So, this movie is the directorial debut of Zelda Williams, who is Robin Williams' daughter, which was awesome. It's also written by Diablo Cody, and is, according to her, set in the same universe as Jennifer's Body. So, uh,
Absolutely.
which is interesting because they're definitely two very different movies.
Yeah,
Um,
very. That's
yeah.
something that I've always like when I read that she said that, I was like, well, that's yeah, different directors. Obviously, Catherine Kusama did Jennifer's Body, but I was like, that's very interesting that these two movies are set in the same universe when it's like I don't know, such completely different vibes.
Oh, absolutely.
And
So,
I guess
go
different
ahead.
decades. I guess different decades too. Because Lisa Frankenstein is 89, and when it takes place, and Jennifer's Body was like what
The
oh
early
seven?
2000s.
Yeah, like oh
Yeah.
seven ish somewhere.
Yeah. Now you're making me look it up. Let me see.
I don't remember the exact year.
2009. 2009.
Oh,
20 years difference.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I was a little close.
yeah.
I was
So, you know, maybe what's her name? The sister in this. Maybe she
Catherine.
grew up
Yeah.
and maybe she's the mother of Amanda Seyfried's character or something like that.
Yeah, or do we ever see I'm trying to think back. It's one of those things where I've seen Jennifer's Body a lot, but I'm trying to think in my head, do we ever actually find out who Jennifer's parents are? I know we
I
see
don't know. Yeah.
yeah, I know we see Amanda Seyfried's mom,
Oh,
right?
do we? Okay.
I don't just in
It's been a
passing.
while since I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she works like third shift, so you only see her like in
Yeah.
passing a couple times. But I don't think you ever find out who Jennifer's parents are. So maybe that's the connection then.
There you go. Could be. Could be. All right. But so yeah, this movie is this movie to me this movie feels like it's um in a lot of ways owes a lot of its DNA to early Tim Burton.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I could for sure see
Um
that.
yeah. And especially on this new watch, I was just really struck by that.
Very Edward Scissorhands type
Yes,
vibe.
yes. Yeah, very, very much the Edward Scissorhands vibe. Because you got the guy who can't really talk and and you get the whimsical girl, like kind of goth light girl and everything. So um
I
uh
think the way I describe the vibes a lot of time, I heard a moderator. I was at Horror Hound actually for a Lisa Frankenstein panel, and the moderator introduced it as like if John Waters made a Goosebumps book, and that was like nail on the head for me. It was like that is absolutely 100% what this is.
that's too funny. I would not have considered that. That's funny. Um Yeah, I don't know. I think this is great. It's obviously I'm doing this series of um right here of movies that I'm talking about. These are all movies featuring Katheryn Newton. I think she's a phenomenal actress, especially for somebody who's so young. Um
Yeah, absolutely. I say this with high, I don't know what I was getting ready to say there. She's absolutely my favorite, like my favorite actor right now. It's not even close to anybody really doing it now. Like there's just so much of her personality in all of her movies, like Freaky and even Abigail, that's like
yeah.
just a character within herself to I don't know, it's just fun every time she's in a movie.
Yeah. No, and I can't wait to see her in the upcoming Ready or Not 2. So
Oh
that's
man, with Samara Weaving, those two are
it's
going to be
oh
great.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Just, it just seems perfectly cast. And with the, Radio Silence team all back and doing it all,
Oh yeah, it's going to be.
gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like that's one I'm gonna have to go see like opening weekend. Like I feel
Oh
like
yeah.
I'm not gonna miss that one. Because sometimes I
Yeah,
wait
same.
where we live in such a small area.
Yeah.
Our closest movie theater is about a half hour away.
Oh man.
So
It's
sometimes we have to wait on things because the work schedule doesn't work out, and we just have to wait until something's out on Blu-ray and God forbid streaming sometimes.
See, I've been doing the movie theater for a while now. I got uh A-list like maybe a year or two ago now. Um so I do that as often as I go at try to go when there's good movies out and stuff like that. I try to go at least once a
Nice.
week.
Oh man,
And
that's
our movie theater was 45 minutes away. So we were traveling 40, well, the one that was closest to us was 15 minutes away, but it was like it wasn't a very good one. So we would
yeah.
travel the extra we would go the 45 minutes to the better one because it was just like, look, it's worth it if I get to go sit in a nice comfortable seat and have good quality um projection and sound. So
Yeah, we
now
do that.
actually we
We
moved
do
and now I'm
that.
only 15 minutes away now. So which is
Oh,
nice.
nice. We do
Yeah.
that. We do that for a theater. It's about an hour and 45 away actually,
Oh,
but it's like
yeah.
it's a drive, but we'll go see things that were really, really. We saw Superman
Yeah.
there because we were like, yeah, we got to go see this in
Oh,
like a
yeah.
nice theater where like people are actually there to watch the movie and
Yeah. Yeah.
not not chit chat behind you. Like there's some movies where that's like some movies I love that. Like this movie particularly when we saw Lisa Frankenstein, there were people there that were just like, what is going on? And for some reason it just like it added to that movie. But you go to see something like I don't know off the top of my head, like The Witch or something quiet like that in a movie theater like that, and people are just like,
Yeah.
"What is going on?" And you're like, "You just totally took me out of the movie."
I've been lucky. The movie theater that we go to is also the one that my daughter works at currently. And so I've been generally pretty lucky with people. That's not to say every time it's great. But I would say 9 times out of 10, I don't have problems. Every
Yeah,
once in a while, you'll get that person who's randomly on their phone. But with the way they've got the seating and with the recliner seats and everything in these theaters, you don't get a lot of that extra distraction, which has been
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So
I don't think the phones really bother me too much because usually people keep them kind of like in front of them and you can't really see
yeah,
if it's a obviously it kind of has like a nightlight effect where it catches your eye and you look at it, but that doesn't bother me so much as people who just like I don't know how to word this. They just laugh at like the things that like you're just thinking in your head, why is that funny? Why are you laughing? And
see, that stuff doesn't bother me. That's funny.
oh, it drives me nuts. Like I saw Long Legs with a couple of my friends, and there was people that were in the theater a couple rows in front of us that were laughing at parts that were just so macabre and like eerie and creepy to me. And I was just like, why is this funny to them? And it was just bothering me because I was kind of analyzing like how in your brain did that come across as funny, which then made me analyze like are my tastes like and then you fall down this rabbit hole of people studying where you're like that's very interesting that's something that genuinely got under my skin and creeped me out there laughing about.
Armchair psychologist here, but it could have just been how some things will make you so uncomfortable you kind of have to chuckle to like kind of diffuse it in you.
That's what
That
that's what my wife Bree says. She's like, they probably are just laughing to diffuse the situation. Like one of the times was oh what's the bring her back. It,
Yes. Oh
where
God, that movie's intense as hell.
yeah, and the knife scene. There were people in the theater I was at that just started chuckling, and I was like, "Oh
I think that's
wow,
probably what it is. Yeah,
oh
because
wow."
that that movie is hilarious too. Because not the movie itself, but the time I went to go see it, that movie is so intense that afterward, somebody like we were all sitting there at the theater, just like while the credits were going, and we're just
Yeah, just sitting there
like
like,
just sitting there, just waiting, and then like somebody at the end was just like, "Is everybody all right?" And that just made us all laugh because we're just like, it just was like so intense of a movie that you're just like, okay, yeah, that was kind of a necessary good, like, come down for it. But
yeah, I
yeah,
had
I would
we
just assume that's what I would assume if people are laughing at weird spots. I guess I just get absorbed enough in the movie typically. I'm not gonna say every time, but typically, I'm probably not paying attention to what other people are doing anyway.
yeah,
So unless
I'm
they're being
very
incredibly loud.
I'm
So
very people watchy, so I can't. That sounds terrible, but like if somebody moves, I'm just like lock on. I don't know how to explain it. It's bad.
it's the
We
ADHD right there. You're just
that's
easily distracted.
absolutely what it is. Because Bree hates going to restaurants with me sometimes because if people walk by, I look at them and I just can't stop. Like it's just like an involuntary
She's like,
reaction.
stop looking at people.
I just look. Or if I get stuck by somebody for more than 5 seconds, I start talking to them. It's a mess.
That's so funny. Oh man. All right. So this movie, I really enjoyed this movie for like the aesthetics of it. It's very much a funny. I'm glad it was set in 1989, because there's a weird little thing that I've noticed in movies. I grew up in the 80s. And it's something that I noticed when you watch movies, there's definitely a point where things change, because when you think about the 80s, there's two different versions of the 80s most people associate. And there's the wood paneling, kind of burnt orange, um, kind of leftover 70s version of the 80s. And then there's the neon, um, like crazy hair, 80s.
Yeah.
And there there's definitely some overlap, but what I've noticed in movies is it seems like 1987 is right about the time that the changeover happened,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in a very full way. Because if you look at something like and I noticed it because I was looking at something like Fright Night, which came out in 1985,
Mhm.
and that's an 80s, but it's like the old 80s version. Whereas looking at Lost Boys, which came out in 1987, that's like the new style. And so you look at that, and so there's like it's very much a weird thing that happened, and you people pay attention to it in the movies and stuff. You'll see it. There's just this definite weird changeover, and I like that Lisa Frankenstein was set in 89 because you have that kind of like there's enough of the new big hair, you know, neon kind of
Yeah.
style stuff. There's still a little bit before that. There's still a few touchstones of things from before that, but I really like that it did have most of that like late 80s aesthetic
Which
to
is,
it,
you know,
which was a lot of fun.
I've never noticed that, but like thinking about that, you're 100% right. There's definitely two different styles of 80s because
Yeah.
I was while you were saying that, I was thinking about like, man, Gremlins kind of has that weird wood panel feel, doesn't it? Like
It's
Gremlins
that's in
definitely does.
1984. Yep.
And
Yep.
then like even Critters almost kind of has that wood paneling feeling, but then Critters
Hmm.
2 doesn't. Critters 2 is
Yep.
very bright and loud. Yeah, wow. So
Yep.
interesting.
Yep. So yeah, it's something I've noticed over the years. Like so like for me, like and people who've listened to me a while know this, but I've always liked horror movies. I grew up in the 80s, so I grew up during the slasher, the boom and everything like that. And so I saw all that stuff. I saw Freddy and Jason and all that. But I wasn't like as much as I liked horror movies at the time, that wasn't a passion of mine until for me, it would probably be like early 2018, when I really dived hardcore into it, and had become a big horror fan. Um, and so going back, rewatching a bunch of stuff and watching a bunch of stuff totally new, especially of the 80s, I noticed that kind of gradual kind of change. But then like 87 is like boom. It was like weird, like a really hard, like maybe stuff in 86 kind of hints towards it, but it's not really until 87 that it really hits big time. And then after that, like 87 to the early 90s has that vibe. Um,
That's so interesting
yeah.
to I've never noticed that.
And
I'm kind of the same too. I grew up like I actually didn't know there were other movies other than like horror movies because when I was a kid, my parents kind of used the video store and like I always tell this story and people think I'm lying, I think, but I was born in '87, funnily enough, and
oh, that's funny.
and I saw one of my earliest memories is seeing Freddy's Dead in the theater by myself because my
Mm,
mom worked in a place that it was like by a mall that had a movie theater, but she'd go in and pay for however many movies her shift would have been and get me tickets or whatever. And I remember watching Freddy's Dead by myself. And I've looked back at like the year that came out, and that was 1991. So I
hmm.
was like 4, maybe 5, depending what month it came
which
out.
is crazy. I have a 4.5-year-old grandson. I could not imagine just leaving him somewhere.
No, no, I
Like
couldn't.
I can't imagine that. Like that's
No, and
but
what
that's what people did in the 80s and 90s.
there's so much. I mean, there's so much more to my parents that led to that we don't need to. As I say, we don't need to get into tomatoes and all that. But like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was just like I saw so many movies because Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Obviously, I was out of school, so my step grandmother would take me to the video store and like she'd let me pick like 3 to 4 movies. So I always had something to watch at home, and I didn't even really think there was other sections other than horror. Like there'd be like the random, because you're a little kid, there'd be that random Disney movie here and there. Like
Right.
my favorite movies growing up have always been Little Mermaid and Return of the Living Dead, which is such a weird combo. But now Lisa Frankenstein gets mixed in there because that's like, man, that has my heart in the same way. But those are the movies that I grew up watching more than anything, and it's like, why was a 5-year-old kid watching a Return of the Living Dead VHS almost every day?
That is too
What-
funny.
Why was I doing that?
Oh man, that is hilarious. Yeah, no, it's I think it's interesting though for people who are horror fans. Like I know I saw stuff real early on. Um, because I wouldn't say lax parents or anything like that. They were just permissive. And so they didn't really restrict my viewing. I had friends who were like, "Oh yeah, I can't watch horror movies or rated R movies or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, that's weird." Like I've got no problems doing that. Um,
Oh my God. Funny side quest here. The first one from Dusk Till Dawn came out. I watched it at a friend's house, and their mom was like, "Cover your eyes," like when Salma Hayek does her dance. And I was just looking around like, what the fuck? Why are we? I don't know if this is an F word podcast, but I was just like,
yeah, it's fine.
I was like, I don't know, why are we covering our eyes? And like I like looked through like what's gonna like when you're at your friend's house, you do the old peek through the eyes. I was like,
Yeah.
what is going on that I'm not allowed to watch this? Because I've seen she's not even naked. Like I don't
Yeah.
understand the issue here. But man, yeah, it's a
Too
shock,
funny.
isn't it, when that happens?
That is too funny. Yeah, because what that came out in 96, so you would have only been 9 at that time. So that's
Yeah, so
funny.
I was well versed in full frontal nudity in a horror movie. My friend, like, I was
Yeah,
already
especially if you were watching Return of the Living Dead that early. Yeah, you
I I
you
I was
know.
probably 4 or 5 the first time because my father had VHS copies of horror movies. That's one of the only good things he ever did for me
Yeah.
was help me fall in love with horror. But I would always take Night of the Living Dead, and I guess he must have thought that was okay enough because there's just violence in it or whatever, but it wasn't that bad and it didn't scare him.
Right.
And I saw Return of the Living Dead, so my Godzilla loving brain thought, oh, okay, well, there's Godzilla, then there's Return of Godzilla from the 80s, which is like a
Yeah.
sequel. So this must be a sequel to Night of the Living Dead. Like this must be part two, which therefore in my brain that thinks the Howling Six is better than the Howling One, this has got to be the better version. So I remember watching it on my
I don't think
hotel.
anybody thinks Howling 6 is better than Howling 1. Come on.
No, no, but my step grandmother gave me a hotel TV from this place she worked, and I remember watching it on that. And my father coming in near the end when they're all hiding, like in the mortuary, they're all hiding, and he's like, "Oh, Return of the." He's like just kind of staring at. It. He goes, "Have you been watching this from the beginning?" And I was like, "Yep, the whole time." Yep. And then from then on, it was just like I feel like I never had any supervision over what I watched, and now that I know like Return of the Living Dead, I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely why I had never had any supervision anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. Well, I would say, at least with Lisa Frankenstein is not that kind of movie. Lisa Frankenstein is a PG-13 rated movie. So very, very much a lot more wholesome-ish. There's definitely a few weird things in this, but there's no nudity. There's no,
Yeah, it's
you
which
know,
is very when I think about it being rated PG-13, I guess there's just the one scene at the end that I'm really thinking like, okay, yeah, I guess I get why
right.
it's 13 instead of just PG because there's not really any like quote unquote foul language or anything going on. I guess
No.
there's some sexuality going on, but for the most part, it's just kind of like this like goofy romp with
Yeah.
with some really deep things going on. I think obviously, but
Yeah.
It's just like I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't feel that it's heavy enough even to be PG-13 to me.
True. Although it is funny, somebody's review on um IMDb said this should have been rated R. I was like, no, it shouldn't have. I mean, well, maybe they're suggesting it should have been so that it could have been, I don't know, better. Like in a way, like there could have been more gore and
Oh,
stuff.
there's
So
people that are like, it's not horror unless it's R, and I'm like,
yeah,
guys, Jaws was PG. Come on.
I know. There's like the whole world of really great PG-13 rated horror, and people just try to dismiss it as like, oh, it's got to be, you know, it's got to be R rated or nothing. And it's like, okay, okay, look, I like gore and nudity as, as much as anybody else, but like, it doesn't have to be to, you know, be a horror movie.
Yeah,
So
it's like, all right, guys, let's chill out a little bit on that. Like, it doesn't like the Monster Squad is like a classic, and I think that's probably rated PG, right?
yeah,
Has to
I'm
be.
pretty
And
sure.
The
Yeah.
Gate is probably PG. There's so many movies that are rated. It's
Oh
so
yeah.
weird to me that people are like, it has to be R and have all this gore, and I'm like, Bloomhouse gets a lot of hate for that, but
Yeah.
I love Bloomhouse movies because they're very light. You can watch them and not really feel like overwhelmed and just have a good time
Yeah.
without being like, oh man. And then there's the other side of the spectrum, like Terrifier, that I'm like, that's too much. Like that should have been PG-13. Like you could have made that better by not doing all this.
It's too funny. See, I don't mind. It depends. Like I used to there. I think that it's interesting too, because like I look back on my horror history and stuff like that, and there was a time that I got away from horror, because I was just like everybody's just doing all the gore for no reason and blah blah blah. So I like this was early, like late teens, early 20s, I think maybe. Um,
So
and I was
I have a quick theory side quest about this. My
okay.
this is kind of like your 80s thing. So think about horror and slashers before like Friday the 13th Part 4, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, like this era, like mid 80s, okay?
Yeah.
You were rooting for the characters a lot of time in these movies. Like the characters are loud, obnoxious, fun, the kind of people you wanted to hang out with, and you're like, man, I just want I want these characters just to be on screen, like for the whole runtime, to the point that movies that were an hour of just people hanging out and chatting were almost better than the movies that were 2 hours of horror. I think personally, but I feels like at some point in time with slashers, it became rooting for to see the slasher kill people.
Oh,
We started
absolutely.
rooting for the slasher, and it's like I think things like Terrifier and even the new Halloween movies are coming from that lens, where like Saw, like people who are like saying the killer is cooler than the characters, so then filmmakers start making the characters less likable and dumbing them down to the point that now
Yeah.
you almost have to root for the killer. I don't know.
I do no, I agree with you. I think that what ended up happening was because they were making all the sequels in the 80s of, Jason and, Michael Myers and then, all the Freddy stuff, especially the Freddy stuff, because people really do not understand, like, unless you lived in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, you do not understand how big Freddy Krueger was.
Oh yeah,
And Freddy Krueger was this icon that helped elevate all the other slashers to a degree. And I'd argue that I think most people who watch slashers, like maybe in the first couple of slashers, you were rooting for the people to survive. But after a certain point, you were rooting for the slasher anyway. And then it became a whole industry of it. And because of the rise of videotapes and video rentals and stuff, that definitely lent itself more towards well, we're going to make the killer the most fascinating person out of all this, and that's who people are going to want to come and see, especially if you're going to make a franchise out of it.
yeah.
Um,
It definitely feels like and I don't think that's bad either because
no,
I love the Hatchet movies. I love watching
yeah,
Victor Crowley just kill people with a 7 foot long chainsaw. And it's so but it's I feel like there's like a level of I always tell people it feels mean sometimes and they're like, well, it's a horror movie. Of course it's mean, you idiot. It's about people but like
yeah,
I feel like there's a level of everyone's in on the joke in a movie,
Yes.
like in like the Freddy sequels. Like Freddy's Dead's my favorite, and I know a lot of people don't like it, but it feels
Oh
like
man, come on.
it's I know, right?
That's
It
the
feels like
worst one.
I love it, but it might just be for that sentimental value, man, where I
Yeah.
saw it so
Oh yeah.
young. That was definitely the first one I saw, but it's like all the characters are it feels like even the characters are in on it. Like they're getting killed in these ways, like the video game and stuff. That's just like this is
Yeah.
insane. This is just like a live action video game. And then there's movies I feel like that kind of head towards like a battle royale style of death, where it's like it's supposed to have this really heavy emotional gut punch. And then I feel like
Hmm.
people are watching battle royale and being like, "Oh yeah, I love watching these middle schoolers die," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a little mean, little
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
a little mean to me, I guess." I don't know. That's kind of where I like. That's this weird area where I overthink and sit, I think.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, so we keep getting wildly off topic. So you were really excited to talk about Lisa Frankenstein with me, because
Oh
you
yeah.
said that this informs a lot of your current work. So tell me what Lisa Frankenstein means to you and why this has influenced your work so much.
Okay. Oh man, that's a loaded question. So at the time, I was finishing my book. Well, I had finished it. Bride. It's called Bride of the Living Chad. It's about a porn star who dies, and this college kid. It's his favorite porn star. So he finds this way to bring her back to life, and to obviously, with her, and
Yeah.
she dies in a car crash, so she's still really burnt up and like gross, burnt beyond recognition, as an old friend of mine would say. And she's just awful looking, and she says the only way that you're going to get me to look the way I looked is if you do all these tasks. Well, the tasks are more so set up so that it just makes him a better person over the course of the book. And it becomes more about her helping her find the person that she should be with, aside from, or who he should be with, aside from like this really shallow person. And I'd gone through a lot with it, where the publisher it was originally with, we don't need to get into that whole debacle, but just did some really shady things, folded, and then it got passed to another publisher who then, surprise, surprise, did some really shady things,
Oh
and
man.
it ended up not there. And I was just like, my God, this book's never going to hit. And it finally landed with where it is now, which is Encyclopocalypse Publications. But I was
Yeah,
feeling
they're
so,
great.
yeah, they're putting out some really, really fantastic stuff, especially original stuff. They've slowed down on that, which bums me out. But nonetheless, I landed there and I was really happy about that. And I was like, man, I just don't know. This book just, maybe it's cursed, kind of like maybe nobody wants to read about like a zombie rom-com is what it was, like a zombie rom-com with a really weird, loud, obnoxious character doing weird side quests to appease this zombie, essentially. And my friend Wendy Dalrymple sent like an image for Lisa Frankenstein, and we were both like head over heels, like this is great, because she's big into that kind of vibe, the 80s bright pink Lisa Frank like
Yeah.
style. And she knows that I love, I guess it's called bubblegum horror, like that style of horror. And we were just both talking about how good it's going to be or whatever. And I went and saw it opening weekend, and like it's literally so much like the book that I had just finished, and was feeling like there was not a place in the world for it, that I was like, man, if this movie can get in theaters and people actually dig seeing it, like there's definitely a market for this. So it was kind of like a confirmation from the cosmos in a way, where it was kind of like, okay, yeah, maybe I don't feel so bad about this. But then just, man, I've over the past, I would say 15 years, I have gone through so many personal changes where I've stopped pretending to like the things that I pretended to like, just because I thought,
Hmm.
like, how a male dominated society is, where it's like you have to like, quote unquote, only boys things, right? Like you just have to.
Yeah.
I said earlier my favorite's always been Little Mermaid, and sorry, I had to get a drink. I'm yapping faster than my hydration can keep up. Um, so Little Mermaid was always a thing. Like growing up, people thought I liked it ironically or like was being funny. Like, yeah, my favorite's Little Mermaid, ha ha ha. And it wasn't like that at all. Like, there's themes in it I really connected with, and
Yeah.
I just I love it. So I always kind of shied away from like that, and like I got into the whole macho, hardcore metal music thing, and like never liked it, but I did it anyway because I was like, this will make me look more macho. But just sitting there and like watching Lisa Frankenstein was kind of like this pinnacle for me, where it was like I was trying to branch out into things and being like, well, I kind of like these lighter horror movies. Like I love Happy Death Day. I love Freaky. Like I love these movies that I guess people would consider like as toxic as it is, quote unquote, girly horror movies. And I love these like the vibes of these movies, and I really connect with them. Like if you are you you're probably familiar with Night of the Comet,
Oh
80s.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one of my favorites too. And Kelly Maroney is up there with Katheryn Newton for me. Fit one of my all time favorite actors. And I always felt weird telling people I love that movie as much as I do because it's about two girls in the apocalypse going shopping. But I'm like, man, I vibe with this so much. I don't know. It's just I love it. So I just watching Lisa Frankenstein in the theater, and it was just kind of like, man, this is it. This is just like the vibe I love. Like this is perfect. Like this is where I'm at in my state of life. This is like kind of confirmation, and it's like
Hmm.
the things I'm trying to write that are more bizarro and weird and strange and funny over being like scary. This is exactly where I am, and all the jokes just like hit for me. Like everything in that movie hit. Like he wears an eye patch. What's his name? His name's Patch. Like everything hit for me. Like spot on, and it just like I left the theater and looked at my wife. I was like, I think that's like one of my new favorite movies. And like you go on a movie high, right? Like you're just on a movie high
Oh
from
yeah.
something cool, but then you may not revisit it. But I got it on Blu-ray, and I've watched it like without exaggeration, probably once a week since it's been out on Blu-ray.
Oh wow.
Like
It's,
it's just become like this comfort movie to me. I don't know. So yeah, it's inspired so much of my work because it's just like the characters are so loud.
hmm
Like even the creature is very loud, and like the way he portrays himself. And I love the something I've always tried to do, like even when I played in bands, was I always wanted to have a theme or an aesthetic, like a very specific presentation for everything I've done. And I worked really hard on that with my books early on, and I had no money. So I would just like take pictures of something and turn it black and white and be like, this is my vibe, I guess. Because this is all I can do right now. But now that I can afford covers and I do that, I'm always all about bright colors and I want everything to fit in a uniform. So
Mm.
watching Lisa Frankenstein and like that color palette of the teals and the like hot pinks and everything that's just like throughout it the whole movie, this so that like you can see one frame of Lisa Frankenstein in a blur, and you know it's that movie just because of the color palette. Like it has its own voice, and the voice is just as loud and obnoxious as Katheryn is like when she's in the yard screaming. Like it's so
Yeah.
loud that it just hits you in your face. You're like, this is definitely Lisa Frankenstein. And I want my writing, which I've been trying to do, and I don't like talking good about myself because I have low self-esteem, obviously. But like, from what I can tell, from what people say, I'm hitting that stride where it's like everything of mine has the same vibe, and you can tell it's me writing it, as opposed to like, oh, this is this style of book. It's like, no, this is a Damien Casey book, and he's doing this. And
Oh,
that's
that's
kind
awesome.
of like it's been such a huge influence in that way, and just the humor. I don't know. I'll ramble on forever, but yeah, it's been huge for me, and it's opened up a world of things that I never would have tried the like before. Like I watched Clueless for the first time a couple years ago because of
Oh man.
man, and it was fantastic. I watch it a lot.
Yeah.
I love it. Like I
It's,
one of my more recent books, Bite and List, I just kind of like made very clueless. And I have a young adult novel coming out that's very clueless like feeling. So it's like I finally like that movie, Lisa Frankenstein kind of opened that door to me to be like, it's okay to like these kind of movies, and they're definitely my vibe. I don't know.
yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm similar in the fact that um I've never been somebody who conformed to normal hetero male masculinity. Um because I've just been like I've been a weird guy my whole life. I am a 100% straight man, but like I people have assumed I was gay continuously throughout my life because I don't try to present myself as being like, oh, I'm the tough guy and everything like that. I hate sports. I don't care about grilling.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't drink. I don't, so like none of these like really hetero kind of toxic masculinity um style of presenting yourself. I've never been that way. So I get where you're coming from on that because it is very like that's the thing about being a guy too that like people like I think people are understanding it now over these I would say over the last decade or so people are starting to understand that men ourselves are subjected to this stupid patriarchal um thing that oppresses us too and we've all got to and I think that even informs who we are now as men is that we've got to fight against that as well and start presenting ourselves as who we genuinely are even as being straight men that we are, that we can like these things that present more for women. I love Clueless. Like
Oh yeah.
I watched that shit when it came out. Like I love that from the beginning. It's a great movie. But I can see where somebody, I mean, you did grow up later. It came out in 95, so you were what, 8 when it came out.
I
So you
was,
would have watched it later anyway. But I like
dude.
stuff like that. I
I
love
was
Clueless.
busy.
I love Mean Girls. I love all these movies that were like I don't generally love like rom-com stuff because that doesn't really fit me necessarily. But like if a good rom-com comes up, I'll enjoy those too. But but yeah, I really like that stuff. But I get totally where you're coming from on that and about having that feeling of just like having to present that way if because of the way that I think part of the reason why I've never conformed to that is because I was a comic book fan in the 1980s.
Oh yeah.
And I was unrepentant about it. And it is something that I have found interesting later because I was in high school and I was still a big comic book fan. And in the 80s, it was not good to be a geek or a nerd of any sort. And you got picked on. I was fairly lucky, I think, that even though I was a big geek like that, that I didn't get picked on nearly as much as I probably could have been.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
but
If you don't have severe trauma from it, you're doing okay.
yeah, so I mean, don't get me wrong, I did get bullied a little bit, and mostly when I was younger, but like in high school, I got lucky. I think partially because I lived in Hawaii at the time. Um, and I never had problems with the local kids or anything like that. I actually got along really well with most of the local kids. I was my dad was in the Navy, so I had problems with the white kids on base.
Oh, absolutely,
Um,
you did.
so the shitty white kids on base who were just like shitty white kids anywhere.
Yeah. You
But
see, and
yeah.
that's kind of how I grew up. Was I grew up until I was 13 in Northern Ohio, which had its own separate form of toxic masculinity with gang violence and all these things.
Mm,
And then I moved to Southern Ohio and like on the West Virginia border, which then has its brand of like hunting and I can't say hunting is toxic because whatever, but like very right wing, conservative,
hmm
manly toxic masculinity, and that's kind of where I grew up. Like my and to speak something else to my parents' credit, they never played into any of that. They didn't. I could have whatever, and they never cared. They never cared like what I liked like that, and that might have been just because they were so
Yeah.
absent. But I know that my father was never one to push like, oh well, you have to be this way. You can't be. You have to be tough. You can't do this. You can't do this. Like he had his other issues, but none of them were ever that.
Yeah, I
So
got lucky with that too. My dad was a Texas man in the Navy,
woof.
and who was a mechanic. And so that's a huge man ball right there.
Yeah, it is.
And it's just like, but he was never like that. And so he never pushed that. He wanted me to learn how to fix fix the car just so I knew the skill, not because, oh, you got to be a man to do that. Like they never really pushed me into anything. Like I was doing shit in school and they never really, I mean, they wanted me to do better, but I didn't get like punished or hit for it or anything like that. So, um,
Yeah, I
But
think like the area I lived in was very much like the man ball of like what you would expect your dad to be and not what he actually
yeah,
was. Like it was just like
yeah,
kids that it's still that way where I live. Like people are just like you're not a real man if you don't do this or this or this and you have to do
yeah.
this and this and it's like it's very toxic. And I think growing up now when I know some of my issues with injustice sensitivity, a lot
Hmm.
of the reasons why I got into things I got into, like I was very much into skateboarding, which has its own style of toxic masculinity and still
Yeah,
does, unfortunately. And I was into punk at the time, which in the early 2000s, 2010s, like definitely had some masculine issues going on, and which then of course translated into like the hardcore scene, which has a lot of masculinity issues in my opinion. But it sort of became more of a, well, I do scarier things than you in my free time, so I'm clearly more intimidating and more of a, I guess, a man and more and tougher to kind of cover up this other stuff that I did in a way.
yeah.
I don't know if I rambled and made any sense of that.
No, I understand. Yeah, no, it's so I get where you're coming from on that. Like it's just there is a, I going back to what I was saying, like I think growing up in that 80s era for me, getting through high school, being a comic book fan and people not necessarily accepting it, but just not caring helped me in that way because then I was just like I was not ashamed of being this huge geek kind of guy my whole life. And because it's I listened to other like actual comic book creators. I used to listen to this podcast and they would talk about, how, they grew up and then they quit reading they were reading comic books and then they got, when they hit high school, they quit reading comics because they weren't cool anymore. But then in college, they rediscovered them. And I was always like, you guys suck, man. You guys are all professional comic book writers and shit. Like you guys actually gave up on comics. I never gave up on comics. It
You
was just like,
bailed on it, you coward.
and then they make a living on it now and I'm like and I'm sitting here like a frustrated like non-writer myself and I'm like, oh, I could have done that but I never had the drive and ability to do it. So but that's all me. So that's my own insecurities.
I
So
definitely have done that with some things like professional wrestling is my one that like you hit an age where you age out of professional wrestling because it's
see that's
fake.
something I never got into either. Like that's a weird boy thing that I never got into either. It's just like
Oh man,
wrestling
it's
just too much for me.
it's gotten so much better in that sense. It's like, well, I guess it depends which company you watch, and I won't get into all that because any
Yeah.
if there's any fans of the promotion I don't like listening, they'll come after me probably. But the one promotion, WWE, has a little bit of toxicness going on.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
especially with the way they treat women and just everything else. But it kind of became a thing where it was like I stopped liking wrestling because it was fake, but then I started loving wrestling again because it was fake. Like you kind of come back around on it, but
Yeah.
that's yeah, totally. I totally get people leaving and coming
Wrestling
back.
just always seemed like like the male equivalent of a soap opera.
Very
Just
much so. Very
just
much
all the
so.
weird stories, the villains and the good people and everything like that. It just was like every time I saw it, like any little bits of it, I was like, this is just like the masculine, like the dude equivalent of a soap opera. So it's just like
Oh,
I could
absolutely.
I could not get into it at all.
Absolutely. And
I
it's
can see why people enjoy it, the serial storylines and years worth of stuff that goes on and everything like that. I can totally understand why people get into it. It's just not my thing.
yeah. Oh, for sure. It's more like a live action comic book now. So to
Yeah.
me, but yeah, totally. But yeah, I don't know where we left off with Lisa. I was trying to rein it in that time to bring it back around.
But yeah, no, I agree with you with Lisa Frankenstein and stuff like that. I think something like this is um definitely I would say is feels like it's definitely made more for women. They're definitely not, it's very heavily on um very female centric. I love that about it because it's written by a woman, directed by a woman, and everything that we get something that feels made for women in that way, that men can enjoy. if you're open to that kind of thing. And while I didn't like, I loved it. Don't get me wrong, I loved it totally. From the moment I saw it, I thought it was great. Um, I don't think it affected me as much as it did you, but I agree with like that it's just a fantastic fun movie in that way, and I can see why it would um influence you as much.
Yeah, it's definitely like I call everything I write bubblegum bizarro, which to me is kind of like Lisa Frankenstein hits that for me because it's like the Bloomhouse version of a John Waters movie or a Troma movie in my mind. Like it's odd and weird, but it's like the
Slightly,
PG-13 version. So
yeah, slightly watered down for a more mainstream audience.
yeah, it's a little more accessible, I guess,
Yeah.
is what I'd call it. And that's kind of what I like to do because I don't want to write anything that's like so far gone one way that like people can't enjoy it because it's too much for them. I don't know. I try to focus more on themes than I do like the shock
Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
Anyway,
I think it's interesting though, because based on your story, basically you were already writing stuff that felt like what this movie was, and that because this movie came out and found an audience, now your writing itself can find this same audience. It's almost like your writing and this movie were like searching for that audience, and that you finally found it in that way at the right time,
yeah,
and to
absolutely.
make that connection. So
Absolutely. And with a lot of other things in my life too, like just finding my place, like
yes,
it's like
yeah.
I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough, but then it's like, okay, well, with my writing especially, it was like there I feel like I don't have anything to compare to or I was feeling very directionless at the time. Like I want to do more stuff like this, but I don't know where to look to get influenced for this and that just like influenced me to look in so many different places. Like just the Google search of movies like Lisa Frankenstein that like opens up so many different things where it's like I didn't like Mean Girls growing up because of toxic masculinity, but now I love Mean Girls. So it's like
Yeah.
it's just I think it's I don't even know if it's like oh sorry my dog hates these like things that drive by these like they're not four wheelers they're like side by sides. She
Mm,
hates it. I don't know why. We've never had one. She's never been around one, but
it's funny.
it just kind of
Just the
yeah
sound.
definitely
Yeah.
yeah for sure. And one of the heavier elements I guess like for Lisa Frankenstein is I've dealt with ideation my whole life and
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that happens in that, especially with the little like things that Zelda put in there as nods to her father to make you think of that, like how heavy of a weight that is to carry, and that it's presented in such a way where it's like Lisa definitely, without outright saying it, has some things going on in that way. Like she's
Oh,
definitely
absolutely.
like I want to be with you, not I didn't mean you, like I meant in the ground dead. Like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I feel like the way I present a lot of my ideation is through jokes like that. And the band Amigo to Devil really connects with me because of that, because it's very much like, oh man, I kind of wouldn't mind being dead, but that's sort of funny in a way to me. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of like Lisa Frankenstein presents it that much, but then there's very somber moments, like we talked about the Patch Adams thing. Well, the Patch part, which is like a nod to Patch Adams, where she says
Yeah.
his name is Patch the second time, and it's so sad. It's like, oh man, yeah, that does hit pretty hard actually.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you can laugh about the joke the first time, but then the second time it's like, oh yeah, but there's this really serious, heavy underlying thing going on that hits you 2 seconds later.
Yeah.
So
No. Yeah.
it definitely helped me with like because I think a lot of time with my writing I was just trying to be like as funny and out there and entertaining as I could with it a lot of time. And then this was like you can really tie in heavy themes with something that's a little more lighthearted.
Yeah. And I think that actually helps in a lot of ways too, because because it is so lighthearted and stuff like that, it really undercuts a lot of the very heavy themes as well, so that it's a lot more palatable in a way that a lot of other horror just can't do
Oh
necessarily.
yeah, for sure.
Because it makes it relatable. Because I think there's a lot of that kind of stuff that people can understand and relate to, with their own lives. Um, and so I think that like this movie did for you, and so I think that's really great with that. With the way this movie handles that, because there's a lot going on, the loss of her mother, dealing with being in this new family, so much. And I love her stepsister in this, because it is the most, you know 90 degrees on a stepsister trope, that you would ever have. And I love that about the movie, because this girl just wants nothing but to help Lisa the whole time, and is just doing the most positive things that she can in so many ways. Sometimes in an almost toxic positivity way, I can see it coming off like that. But I would say 90% of the time, it's in the most supportive and positive ways possible.
Oh, for
And
sure. I
I really
Yeah,
enjoyed the character in that way.
yeah, I totally agree. Taffy is like
Yes.
it's like at the end when Lisa says, "You really did try to make me part of your family. Your mom was just so heinous. I was convinced you were too." It's like that's
Yeah.
literally what happened. Like you finally opened your eyes to be like, this person was actually just trying to be nice to you and not actually like trying to be a dick. And there's a lot going on in that to me too, where it's like we have such a hard time judging people because they do things we don't like or they like things we don't like. And here's this person that was like trying so hard with Lisa to be like, I'm actually trying to like make my mom not be such an asshole to you, but you're kind of just being a jerk to me because my aesthetic isn't the same as yours, sort of.
Yeah. And I mean, and to be fair, I will say this. If you go back and look at the 80s, movies from the 80s, you can see that kind of whole vibe of the bullies and jocks and stuff like that. And as somebody who came from the 80s, who grew up in the 80s, it's not far off.
Yeah,
So it's really hard when you know that this person is a popular girl, um, to trust that that person is on the level,
yeah, yeah,
like that, and is genuinely being friendly and isn't out to get you in some way, because that's just what the culture was like. Not everywhere, but you see it in the movies and TV shows at the time, and just and it was stuff we were dealing with as kids. So it just so I can totally get that, the whole thing, especially when her mom was a heinous person, played by the fucking best person, Carla Gugino. I've always loved Carla Gugino. But she's definitely terrible in this movie.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so I can see where she's coming from in all of that. And I like that even at the end of everything, with this movie and everything, that even though she betrayed her and everything, she did not want her stepsister to die.
yeah. It
Um,
was, and that like, yeah, yeah. That part kind of is really heavy too because it's almost like the moment when she betrayed her was like I feel like I just sound like Tommy Wiseau. You betray everyone, betray me, but it's like that moment when she realizes she's like her sister's been sleeping with what's his name? I can't ever remember his name. It's just like
yeah.
that's when she's finally like, oh, okay, well maybe I was the one being more shallow than her because I just assumed. But it's very like I would compare Taffy, and you're a comics fan, so I assume you'll get this. I would compare her to Wonder Woman almost, like to Diana, because she's just like constantly trying like getting hit with the hate from Lisa and like the dislike and the just being ignored and just always trying to like overcome that with empathy in a way. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'll show you I love you more than you dislike me. And that's a very Diana trait, I feel like, presented in a very dumb cheerleader form.
Well, and it's interesting too, because you got to wonder, like, because, growing up in the 80s time period that she grew up in, and having her mother as her influence in a lot of ways, you got to wonder, did she get that empathy and that sense of empathy and stuff from her father, who's not there, and everything as well too. So you get to wonder about, how did she become this type of person, which is especially in stark contrast to not only everybody around her, but the time period that it's in as well. So
Yeah, there's definitely some.
It
There
really stands
definitely.
out.
I've thought about that before when when I've watched it. Like, I wonder what Taffy's dad was like because
Right.
she's almost night and day from her mother, so it's like she almost has to have had a lot of influence from her father.
You would think, yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't, is it necessarily said in the movie? Because I've only watched it a couple of times, so you've watched it more than I have. Is it said where her dad is? Did he die? Did Taffy's dad
It's
die?
I don't think it's ever outright said. I don't think it's
Okay, so
ever really
maybe she
like
still has a relationship with him. Maybe he's alive and they still have a relationship. So
yeah,
maybe that's where she gets it.
unless it's some little niche thing that I've missed. There's I don't
Yeah.
believe there's ever a mention of him passing away or leaving or there's not even really a mention of a divorce. So there could it who knows? Like that's
Yeah.
it's kind of like like it's kind of one of those things where it's like the main character knows this and that's what we know too. So
True, true. Yeah. The dad is hilariously played by what is his name? Joe Crest, who also plays the dad of the Wheelers in Stranger Things, which
oh
always
my
cracks
god.
me up. He's like
He's
he's the perfect 80s dad.
stop eating the grape nuts and be a father, Dale. He, he's just like very absent, very
Yes. Yeah.
doesn't know what's going on. I do feel like he's trying his best in a lot of ways, but
I think he is too, and I think that's something that like I think is important to recognize in that is that he is definitely trying as a dad as best as he can. And again, it's the 80s, he's a boomer. And so it's definitely dads were a little bit more hands off even then for um that kind of child rearing in a lot of ways. Um and so I get that. Um, but
which definitely like when you look at how he is with Taffy and how Taffy acts, that definitely leads you to think that maybe her and her father were close. Because
yeah,
Even Lisa at one point when Taffy's like, you know how dad is, he's always nosy, and she's like, he is like, yeah, there's probably almost like a sense of Taffy forced that relationship she had with her father on him. I guess is what
yeah,
I'm kind of getting. We're analyzing the hell out of this. We're English majors now, man.
there you go. Um, and I think that's what's interesting because I think Taffy is in a lot of ways, Taffy is actually trying to make this work with both Dale and Lisa and make this kind of family that she wants as well. And it feels like maybe she's not close with her dad. And she's trying to kind of in a way replace her what she's missing with these people as well. Um and especially because you know she obviously gets along with her mother but she doesn't agree with things her mother says and does. And um so it's definitely an interesting dynamic for the course of this whole movie in this um household that Lisa exists in, who comes from a family where she was very close to her mother, and then had her killed, and their mom was killed in front of her. And I mean that's traumatic to begin with. Um,
Yeah, so yeah, I can't even imagine what that would be like if you had that close of a bond.
yeah.
It
So go ahead.
It definitely does feel though that that Lisa's father wasn't really much like I don't want to say much of a father because that's not true, but it doesn't seem like he was around. Like he wasn't very present with Lisa. Maybe he worked a lot
Right.
more then, or I I don't know. I guess I've always kind of had the thought that maybe he was sleeping with Taffy's mom and like having a relationship with her before Lisa's mom passed away because of the whole thing, how they got together so quickly afterwards.
I
But
guess that's possible, but I also think it's I always saw it as he just was somebody who was kind of grieving also and missed that companionship and needed some, and in some ways he's like kind of maybe a bit of a man child and kind of needed somebody to take care of him.
that's very
Um
much true too. He just very much was like,
yeah.
actually, I don't know how to do my own dishes or cook food, so I just need a new person to do that. And then,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. but um but yeah, I think we haven't really talked about the other major character in this, which is Cole Sprouse's um preacher, um which like I will say for the most part, like this could have been played by anybody. Like I don't necessarily think Cole Sprouse is a bad actor or anything like that. I did, don't misunderstand me. I think he does a great job in what he's doing and everything like that. But it is a fairly, quiet. He does a lot of emoting on his face, which is very good. Um, he's good at what he does with it, but I do think that it could have been any actor of his generation that could have done fairly well enough with what he's given.
I would have, before I sat through the panel, I would have absolutely 100% agreed with
Okay.
you. Now, when I was at the panel and it was Katheryn Newton, of course. We just said his name and I forgot.
Cole
Cole
Sprouse.
Sprouse, yeah. So it was Katheryn Newton and Cole Sprouse talking about the movie, and he did so much extracurricular to make to
Mm,
make his character. He went to mime school actually
okay.
to like
Okay.
he went through mime training to learn how to like do a lot of the stuff he's doing, which I thought was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. And having seen it as many times as I've watched it, I notice you start to notice little things he does, like little eye rolls and things he does that you're like, I don't okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty,
Okay.
and I do also weird trivia that part of me loves that he played a character that's supposed to be Frankenstein that is Frankenstein in this, and he also played Frankenstein in Big Daddy.
Yeah. Yeah. I did see that in the IMDb trivia
Like
when
he
I was
played
looking it up.
Frankenstein in both movies, and I love it.
Too funny.
But I think
Um,
I think he's definitely supposed to be kind of like a I think the movie is obviously focused on Lisa.
yeah.
It could have been Frankenstein. It could have been a ghost. It could have been a sea monster. I think in the movie, it's just kind of like a
Yeah, and
reflection to
and I
bounce
think
off
that's
of.
and I think that's more of what I meant of it too, is just I feel like it's definitely 100% her movie. And it's like a showcase number one for Katheryn Newton. But also just it's more about her growth and change, and all of that in terms of um where, like you said, he could have been any kind of character. And I think that's kind of more how I was feeling about, not that he is doing a bad
Oh
job
yeah,
or
yeah.
anything, because I don't think he was, but just that it could have been any kind of monster character. And that what he's doing with it was good. I did like it. I think he's doing a good job. Again, I got super huge um Edward Scissorhand vibes from it.
Oh
And
yeah, for
so
sure.
yeah, and so for that aspect of it, again, not a bad thing, because Edward Scissorhands, great movie. Um, but
Now I
yeah, I
do,
really do think this was so much a Katheryn Newton
yeah, and I do
vehicle,
love
and it was
though.
so good.
I do love that that he is a zombie or whatever it is that he's actually supposed to be because I like how you go from he can't speak, you can't tell his face, he's gross, to as the Lisa character kind of grows more into being herself, he becomes slowly more an actual
Yeah.
person. Like I really enjoy seeing that transition happen too, but that could have been with a mummy or anything as well.
Yeah. No, and I do like that the more they progress, the more he gets like the body parts that he's missing and stuff. And as he becomes more himself, he actually becomes more himself. By the end, he's reading a book and able to actually talk and everything again. So I do like that there is that progression for uh, the movie, even while her progression, while she's opening up and becoming a much more confident person in herself, she's also now participating in death and violence, which is not going to end up well for her. So,
She gets a
which
little
I
too,
I
gets
always
a
was always disappointed with that point of it. But go ahead.
She gets a little too gleeful with it in the end. Like
Yeah.
it kills me. My favorite scene is I told you I'd hold your stupid hand. That nerdy kid. Like
Yeah.
it takes me out every time. I don't know what it is about that scene, but just her doing that and then just like second guessing her joke. What? I thought that was a really funny thing to say. Like it takes me out every time because like girl, you are too gleeful about killing this guy right now, and he's even judging you. Like the creature's even judging you. Like you're a little too excited.
Yeah. No, that is yeah, that's a fun part though for sure because I mean just as a like a great bit of revenge. That is just really good, and just teaches you to keep your hands to yourself. Uh,
Dude, that's the best lesson that you could learn from that, I guess.
exactly.
But that's man, yeah, that scene. I, I feel like the first time I watched the in theaters, that was a scene that I was like, "This is fantastic! Like this is
Yeah.
the vibe."
Oh man. But yeah, no, I like it. I think it's a great movie. It's got so many fun bits in it. Just
I feel like from a just to go on a side tangent while we're at kind of
yeah.
a pause, like from a writing standpoint, the jokes and like all the little gags are so perfect that there's things that happen that you miss that are actually like kind of misunderstanding jokes. Like the scene talking about the guy with the hand, when he first takes her to the room, he says, "Oh, who's your favorite director?" And she says, "Pabst." And he says, "No, you're just talking about my beer can." And she says, "No, he's a real director. What movies has he
Yeah.
made?" Silence. And he thinks that she's saying silence as in like be quiet. But if you look up direct Pabst director, it's actually a real director who made silent films.
Yeah.
So it's like such a spot on joke that when you kind of think about it and look it up for a minute, it gets funnier the longer you watch it. Like you're like, man, they didn't miss like Diablo Cody didn't miss a single gag with this. Like, what a phenomenal writer! Like,
Yeah.
and
No, I
I've read her book. I don't know if you've read it, Candy Girl, I believe it's called. It's about her years as a stripper, and it's just like knowing her style of writing and that to seeing her movies and the way she writes movies is just like there's not a line missed. Like every line is so important.
yeah. No, I haven't read it. Um, but I do like her writing. I love Jennifer's Body. Um,
Yeah,
and
I wish we'd get the sequel to Jennifer's Body like we keep
yeah,
hearing about. It would be, oh man.
that would be very cool.
I want to see Amanda Seyfried's character like with superpowers.
No, it definitely would be a lot of fun to um get a sequel to that. And I mean, at least Frankenstein did pretty well at the theater, so hopefully, that'll spark renewed interest in it.
Get a little tie-in action like even if it's just like maybe it'll be like the remember the M Night Shyamalan thing where it was like at the end of Split, I think it was, where the character from Unbreakable's there and everybody's like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God." And then you get is it Glass, I think it's called? Some people will get a Glass in the Diablo Cody horror universe.
Yeah, exactly. A little Lisa Frankenstein, Jennifer's Body crossover. Well, we're supposed to be getting, well, potentially there's also another series that Katheryn Newton might get a little crossover action in too, and that's with Freaky and the Happy Death Day movies, because
Yeah,
those are
I've seen that, and
directed. Yeah,
yeah, Christopher Landon. Sorry, I keep talking over you.
yeah.
ADHD,
No, you're
man.
good.
Like Christopher Landon did both of those, and I'd love to see that. Like
Oh,
especially
me too.
the way Happy Death Day 2 ended with the like dimensional stuff. Like that would make
Hmm.
perfect sense that that's how they switched bodies, and just having Katheryn Newton with Jessica Roth in a movie playing off each other would be the same as her with Samara Weaving. It would just be gold.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I need a Happy Death Day 3 guaranteed because those are some of my favorite movies. Um,
Big same.
yeah. Yeah.
I actually just
Um,
on that subject, I was at a convention, it was a horror convention, and there was a person there. She was wearing a Happy Death Day shirt and she had a Happy Death Day tattoo, and I was just like, holy shit, you never see anybody who likes Happy Death
yeah.
Day in the wild. and like we've just been like instantly made a friend. We've just been chatting online about the movie and like those type of movies, the
That's
bubblegum horror
awesome.
movies. It's just cool. It's like a nice little community with these movies that are so terribly underappreciated.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I love the Happy Death Day movies. They're some of my absolute favorites. Um, what was I gonna say? Um, that's all I have to say about Lisa Frankenstein. Did you have anything else you wanted to mention about it before we wrap up?
No, not really. I don't know
Okay.
what I've mentioned and haven't mentioned at this point. I feel like I've yapped a lot. So, but yeah, I guess ultimately in closing, I just love like it's a great movie. I think it's like we've talked about this ad nauseum how good it is, but I think it's the kind of movie that there's another movie called Destroy All Neighbors where one of the characters, the main character, constantly says it's not for everyone, but the ones who will get it will. Like
Yeah,
or
yeah.
not everyone will get it, but the ones who do will. Like, and I feel like it's that kind of movie. Like, not everybody's gonna watch it and like it, but if you're into that kind of John Waters, Troma kind of vibe, kind of early Tim Burton kind of thing, the stuff it's even got like that kind of James and the Giant Peach stop motion kind of vibe to it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I definitely think if well, I guess nobody's gotten this far if they haven't seen it. But if you have, go watch it.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
use don't use this podcast as like people do the angry movie nerd where they're like, I watched a half hour podcast about that movie. I know everything
Oh.
about it.
Yeah, see, that's kind of why I don't do the whole plot synopsis, because nobody's gonna be able to know what this movie's about unless you go watch it.
That is very true. We have not given away a single spoiler.
Not really. Um, but yeah, no, definitely. If you haven't seen this movie, you gotten this far, go watch it and go enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. Um, but hopefully, if you've made it this far, you've enjoyed our conversation about it.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, absolutely. Well, with all that said, why don't you let people know where they can find you online?
Cool. Yeah, I'm at Damien Thulu on Instagram. I know I hate it too, but it's been that way for so long I can't change it. Sorry. Um,
As Geek Thulu, I understand.
and I understand why you hate it, but you're also stuck like me, like, oh man, I cannot change this now. I'm
I,
stuck with this.
I chose Geek Thulu and I stand by it. I just have to spell it out for everybody every time I do it.
Oh man, that's such a problem, isn't it? Like they're like, oh, and you're like, man, I should just
everybody
make this.
everybody just misses the extra L. So, or
Yeah.
the extra H, I mean, the extra H. Everybody
And
wants to take off that H at the after the L. So,
yep, or they don't even add one, and oh man, a
yeah,
nightmare.
yeah.
Anyway, just uh, type in Damien Casey, I guess. I don't have X. I did, but I left it because it got a little gross. I'm on
Yeah.
Threads. I'm on Blue Sky, but I never touch it. Like it just exists. I think the last time I was there, I changed my bio to I'm just gonna start blocking people on here for fun. Like it's like my petty site, I guess. I don't even know if I have the app, so don't add me there. I'm
I
on
mostly
Facebook,
just
but
yeah, I mostly just use Instagram because it's like the easiest thing to
yeah,
use. And I you know,
I like Instagram the best out of all of them. That's the one I've always used. My art's on there too. Damien's Weird Little Guys is on there, which knowing how big of a Happy Death Day fan you are, I'll send you a picture that I did the other day. But
oh,
anyway, all that yeah, that's where you can find me and complain at me. That's what I would say.
all right. Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking about this movie and going off on all the wild tangents that we did.
Oh, for
Um,
sure. Thanks for having me on. Thanks so much. This is one of the funner things I've done in a while, actually.
yeah,
So
well,
anytime,
good.
if you want me to come back anytime, I'm always up for it.
All right, sounds good. All right. Well, thanks again. And until next time, stay creepy.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.